My neighbor was borrowing my car to take her severely disabled child to Disney World. I refused, and then 10 days later their kid died. I moved to a new neighborhood almost 2 years ago. I live alone, with no partner or kids, but my mom does live with me part of the year. I really like this neighborhood and haven't had any issues until now. It's a very tight-knit community, neighborhood BBQs at least once a month, the kids all play together after school. My next-door neighbors to one side have a severely disabled child, she is 6, almost 7, and completely nonverbal and wheelchair-bound. They have nurses who help care for her, but I know her parents are struggling, understandably so. Her mom had to quit her job and is a full-time carer for her and their other older child. I've gotten relatively close to them, the parents, and they are lovely neighbors. Their older child is respectful and honestly one of the sweetest children in the neighborhood. For my mom, I bought a minivan and had it customized to have a ramp and wheelchair tied down so that I can easily transport her and her mobility equipment, usually an ECV or wheelchair, when she's staying with me. The other 4 months of the year, when my mom spends time with her sister and friends in our home country, the car sits mostly unused unless I have a reason to move bigger things that won't fit in my daily driving. I noticed that the neighbors didn't have a car suitable for transporting their daughter without taking her out of the wheelchair and fighting to keep all her tubes and wires in place, so I offered them the use of my minivan if I wasn't using it to transport my mom. We've had an agreement in place that has worked well for us for almost 18 months, but now they've asked if they can use the car to go on a road trip. The trip is scheduled to last just over 2 weeks, and the main reason for the trip is to take the kids to Disney World for the first time. My problem is that my mom is supposed to arrive a couple of days after they leave. I asked if they could delay the trip by just a few days so I can at least get her from the airport with minimal stress. They are adamant they leave on the dates they want to do. I said no, I need to be able to comfortably get my mom from the airport, and after a 12-hour flight I want her to be comfortable and not have to worry about getting in and out of the car. They called me selfish and I've been ousted by the rest of the community. I wasn't invited to the last barbecue, and nobody says hi or waves back at me on the street anymore. The neighbor kids that come by to see my dogs and run around the yard with them haven't been by in almost 2 weeks. I tried to text the neighbors but my texts went undelivered, so I think they blocked me. I feel like I'm living in a hostile environment now and it's so uncomfortable. Update, I got a text from the next door neighbor asking if we could talk. She came over to my place and before we even started talking she was in tears and hugging me, apologizing for everything that had happened over the last couple of weeks. Eventually, I got the full story. The day before they asked about taking the van for a vacation, they had gone to meet with her daughter's medical team and got bad news. They gave her only a few more months to live. She really wanted to take her kids to Disney World before her daughter passed, and obviously, with her emotions running high, she vented to her best friend, who was the real reason nobody was speaking to me. Her best friend had told everybody I told them I didn't care, that their daughter was dying and I was being incredibly selfish. It was a very emotional conversation and she told me she would set things right with the other neighbors. After she went home, I spoke to my mom and we agreed to try and help them pay for Disney World. I got some apology messages from other neighbors and did a kind of fundraising and raised a decent chunk for them to be able to afford flights. They went on their trip and had a great family vacation. Her boyfriend apologized to me and told the neighbors the full story. Unfortunately, their daughter passed about 10 days ago, peacefully in her sleep. Neighbors are obviously heartbroken but are being supported by the neighborhood.